So here I am, day 4, early in the morning. It's well, it's not that early. It's 7:20. I'm in a beautiful little town of Evergreen. Evergreen is right below Upper Bear Creek uh, Road, which is where I was yesterday. And I just had dinner. I mean breakfast. See, nothing changes, folks. I'm just still scatterbrained. At the Muddy Buck Cafe, it was really good. And I was asking the girls in there about. Okay, what I forgot to mention was on the way up, I saw that friggin' chimney again, which I still have not investigated. It's this huge chimney on the side of the road. You just can't miss it. And I realize it's not a blaze per se, but I thought it was something that looked almost like a communal, what would you call it? Communal fireplace. It just stuck out. And they told me that as far as they knew, that was an old smokehouse. And you had to actually go into one of the parks, she told me. I think I remember which one she said. And then you have to take a trail down to it. Sound familiar? And then you get it. Then you get on it, or you can look at it. I don't know. I'm actually taking Upper Bear Creek Road today. That's my thing, is to get to the upper waters of Bear Creek, the very, very upper waters of Bear Creek. I'm now going towards Upper Bear Creek Road. Not on it yet. I think I'm still on Bear Creek Road. I know I sound scatterbrained sometimes, but it's because I'm just thinking of so many things all the time. That's my excuse. And so here we go. But another day out here. I'll soon be up with the elk. It was funny when I was driving up here on Lower Bear Creek Road. At the beginning of Bear Creek Road, it tells you to watch for elk and porcupines. When you drive. My kind of place to live. I love it. Although I won't live here. I want to live in the ocean. If I live anywhere. Okay, here we are at Upper Bear Creek Road. Evergreen, like I said, very beautiful little town, very beautiful country. And it was funny being in this hotel. It was the Muddy Buck Hotel Pub blah blah, but it's connected to a hotel. And I realize it has to be constructed fairly recently. I would think within the last 30, 40 years. But God, it was all wooden. It reminded you very much of being like I don't know what this is. It reminded you very much of being like in a real old Western hotel, which I'm sure was their intent. But as I've said before, this trip, if nothing else, has just been a wonderful vacation. I got nothing to complain about. I've learned a lot, seen a lot, learned some real basic stuff about things like not mistaking beaver cuts for blazes, kind of obvious stuff. Anyway, I'll talk to you later. Alright, so I'm just now heading up to the wildlife reserve, and this is what I missed yesterday. This guy apparently is raising llama. And right at the beginning of the road, he's raising llama. They're interesting looking animals. Wow. I never realized that's what they really look like. Man. They are cool looking. That fur is really something. They're from what? Like the really high mountains in Asia and stuff? That fur would really do them good. But it really does seem like it would do them. I could see how this kind of a ecosystem would really be good for them too. They could really fit in here. If they were let loose, I'll bet they'd do fine. Oh yeah, Steffels Hidden Creek Llamas. There's a guy on his own. He's a loner. He said, I'm going over here where the grass and the flowers are greener and whiter. All those guys are just followers. He's out there on his own doing his thing. I was on the wrong road for a while. I was on Yankee Creek Road. Anyway, check this out. Hey, beautiful. She heard me. Hey, beautiful. Yeah. With those big ears, you definitely hears me. Gorgeous. Just hanging out on the side of the road. Drinking out of a puddle. Well, I'm very close to the creek is down there. I'm very close to the trailhead or the little camping table that I'm going to head down from. But you know, as far as I'm concerned, I'm doing good just to even be here. Like I said, this is something else. So I'm going to be getting out of my car very shortly and heading down to the creek, which is down there, and see what we find. Well, I'm in it now, folks. This is where I am. This is a real McCoy. I feel it. I got my spidey senses going on, but my spidey senses have failed me before. But you can bet I'm looking for blazes everywhere. Don't know what it'll be. Remember he said water and mountains? Look at this. You look up and you're looking at I'm in a mountain. Alright. Continuing on. This is not, I don't know if I'd call it for the bold, but you can easily break an ankle in here. This is not easy. I'm having to watch every step at this point. I believe I'm still going down towards Bear Creek, which will veer to the left. So my game plan is to stay on the left. However, interestingly, you can't see. I don't know if you can see that barbed wire fence. There's private land there. I saw that way up at the beginning and I want to make sure that I avoid it. It goes all the way up out of sight. So this here is State Park, and I may very well be forced into the cold. And I can tell you just by standing next to this water, it's 9 o'clock in the morning. It's probably in the 70s, the air. I can tell you without even touching the water, it's frigid. I can feel the cold coming up from the water. That's what I'm trying to say. The creek is emanating cold from the water. So, I'm going to keep going here. Obviously, this is what I'm here for. This is what I believe is where it's at. If I don't find it, doesn't mean it's not here. On the other hand, if I don't find it, it may never have been here. Just following my clues like everybody else. But I'm sure this was like this in 2010, and Fenn could very well have understood you're going in that water to continue. You're going in the cold. And then, of course, you're going into the wood. And I'm almost thinking, you know, I want to go over to the other side, but then again, I want to stay on the left-hand side of the creek. It looks like there may be a path over there by the fence, just hugging the water. I just have a funny feeling I'm going in this water no matter what, just the way this is playing out. And obviously, he would have known that. Okay. To pursue this, there's not really a trail per se, but it's kind of like vaguely there's a trail. I'm assuming fishermen have been down here. Of course, Fenn was an avid fisherman, but again, he did this when he was 80. But he's a pretty stalwart looking guy, so I could see him being in this far. I had to go into the water to continue on, so I had to go into the cold to get back into the wood. And I'm in the wood. I'm really in it. Keeping very, very close eye on the ground for snakes. So yeah, you gotta have a little cojones on you, or a little stupidity to do this. Especially when you're not wearing boots, which I'm not. I could very well be on Bear Creek now. But if he did this, you know, at the age of 80, wow. Because everything you step on is, whoa. Everything you step on, again, I'm concentrating on the camera while I'm walking. I'm not normally stumbling around. you know, it's it's woods, it's forest. So you're constantly having logs cave in under you or roll out from under you or whatever. And you just persevere. So I'm looking for that blaze. But quite frankly, I mean, I started out at 15 to 9, it's now 9:20. Of course, for me, it's the first time. For Fenn, if he had actually been in here, it could have been he could have been fishing up here many times. But still, if he did this at 80, my hat's off to him. This is quite a trek into the woods. I don't see any. I'm on a log now that could very well disintegrate below me. Yeah. I'm not going too much farther down here because, I mean, to carry 20 pounds in this kind of, I just don't feel like it's I just don't feel like it makes much sense. So if I don't see a blaze coming up pretty soon, or what I consider a blaze, I'm out of here. And I'm not going to bother videotaping going out of here. I'm just going to head out later. There's the creek down there. And there's a bridge. That's Bear Creek as far as I'm concerned. But there's a home up here right on the edge of so I could be on private property. I don't want to be on private property. So I am, you know, it's still early. It's still 9:30. I'm just going to go up this dirt road. I did go in the cold and I went in the wood, but I didn't find anything. See, I'm kind of tempted now to go the other side on that bridge, but I just don't like being on private property, and I believe I am. So I'm getting out of here. I can get down to Bear Creek from other places. I kind of gave it my best shot up here at the very head of the... See if I'm even there. I'll have to check my... Another thing, the service up here for your phones is ridiculous, so... I mean, it's real bad. So I get a map with hardly anything loaded on it, except barely I get the blue creeks, but today they're not even showing their names. Yesterday they at least showed their names. But I know that the creeks, I think that's Bear Creek, because I have stayed to the left. And the creek that stayed to the left from the other ones that formed was Bear Creek going down, so there's not one on my left, so that's Bear Creek still. That's good. I'm going to continue. I was in fact on private property. I thought I had skirted it, but I was on the very private property I was trying to avoid to begin with. Right up this road, excuse me, right up the way is my car. So I didn't really, what I did was expended a heck of a lot of energy. When you go in, for people doing this or thinking of it, you look at this kind of land, and when you go in there, the amount of energy you expend going up and down rocks and things, and just, you know, keeping your footing and not killing yourself. Yeah, that's right where I went, right down there. I could have come I could have just come over here. These are the things you always learn. I could have come down here. Yeah, there's the fence. I would have had to kind of go down that dirt and then gone down there, and I went all the way around there and came all the way up there, and that was a lot of energy. That was about 20 minutes of work. I just don't think Fenn's doing that at 80 years of age. I keep harping on that, but it's an extremely important thing to remember, because you have to kind of get in his head and remember what he was going through when he did this. And, you know, it's a lot of work for me, and it would be a lot of work for a young kid. I mean, not nearly as much work, but 80, forget about it. Okay, well, I'm going to go up, but if you're a middle-aged person, you're out here huffing and puffing, I guarantee you. I was sitting on my butt a couple of times, getting over rocks, hoping when I put my foot on the log to get off the rock that, you know, it didn't collapse, because that's all I had to work with. So, you know, you don't want to break an ankle out here. Obviously, right here, you could scream and someone would find you eventually because you're not that far from cars. And as I said, a house down there. But a little further out, not much further out in these woods, and they probably wouldn't even be able to hear you. Okay, I'm fornicated. I'm feeling kind of busted. I went down to the creek. I went in the cold, and it's cold. It is frigid water. I have on sandals with socks, you know, plastics. This is how insane it gets. They have a couple of bathrooms here. I'm almost embarrassed to admit this. So I'm thinking just for a second, I thought, he's just being a smartass and the home of Brown is a shit house. And then you just go down from the shit house down to the creek. Yeah, some of you laughing, but some of you know what I'm talking about. It just gets crazy out here. You just start thinking everything you can think. What would he think? Maybe just be a smartass. Ooh, see, there's the men's. See the men's place right there. And so you start thinking, you know, it's just down there. Start below that. Begin below the heart. But see, that goes against the entire poem then. And, well, no, it doesn't. Yeah, it does go against the entire poem because the poem says that you start and go up the creek. And I'm at the top of the creek. So slap me, silly. That's just stupid. It's not there. It's up here somewhere, but it ain't starting here, Eric. So why are you worried about the House of Brown being up here? Dumbass. Oh, boy. But, you know, it's been fun. Okay, so one of the waitresses at that place said, I think she said it was it never stops. When I get home, it better stop because I'd hate to think I'd be one of these weirdos who would, you know, blow their life savings looking for this damn thing. As I said earlier in this whatever I call it, trip. Let's call it a trip. What I said earlier in this trip is Fenn needs to go out and see. He's probably thinking he doesn't want to tell one damn person where it is. He doesn't want to have a friend of his, as trustworthy as they may be. I think he said he didn't even tell his wife. So why would he just suddenly say to Charlie, whoever, hey man, can you go in there and check it for me and sleep at night? Because he, you know, this guy he's a stalwart person. I think he wouldn't sleep at night just knowing he told Charlie. He may trust Charlie with his life, but you know, people talk. They can't not talk. You know? So it's been a great trip, though. I think Denver's potentially on my list of places to go in the future. And I've never even been much of a traveler. So as I leave, I take the time to read something. So I've probably just spent a day of totally wasted. Closed to all human activity January 1st through June 15th. I know that Fenn said, and again, all these different interviews, and then people say they heard an interview and someone had a source that talked to Fenn. Would Fenn have us looking in an area that's closed from January 1st through June 15th? I don't think so. So again, I've been a little foolish, but this whole trip, on one level, this entire trip is foolish, and I understand that. And that's why I say it's almost been kind of like a working vacation. I've loved being here, but I've done a lot of, in retrospect, a lot of stupid stuff. That's just the way I've learned a lot. But and I actually had seen that earlier when I was coming through this morning, and I thought, well, maybe I don't know if he would. Fenn just seems like the kind of guy who's kind of like up to you to figure it out and do it your own way, and so don't come unless it's, you know, June 15th. You know what I mean? If you think you know what you're talking about. Maybe that's why he says go in the spring. So I guess it's not that dumb to be up here at this time of the year, but you know, if it was up in that part of the creek, you'd think he'd say, well, I wouldn't bother going in the you know, at certain points of the, you know, half of the year or something. I don't know. Just part of this ever ongoing quest mystery. Okay, I'm in yet another park. This is, I think it's called Fallon Park, and one of the waitresses at the Muddy Buck Cafe in Evergreen. Remember the big blaze chimney I saw on the side of the road on Bear Creek Road? And this again goes back to this theory, the Bear Creek Road. Bear Creek's a real creek. Going up, you're on the road. You don't need a paddle to drive, but you're on Bear Creek. You know what I mean? Kind of makes sense to me. So anyway, and then I've got my other theories about the heavy loads, and you know, multi-level P.O.V to some extent, if I'm right. And of course, at this point, I'm just about to give up because it's my last day and I have to give up. But also, there's the chimney. See the chimney? Wow, this is really interesting. So this lady I just talked to, they're out here with their kids. She said you go across the bridge and then you walk up to get to the chimney. And there is the chimney. But I had some, you know, so I'll check back in a second. I'm going to go up, and then I guess I will be able to technically look down from the blaze. I can already see that from here. But I've been thinking a lot about this poem. And I've enjoyed this trip, and I have no regrets about it at all, because it's been a very fun trip, and I've learned a lot, and I've learned a lot about myself. But anyway, later I'm gonna go up and check out this chimney on the side of Bear Creek. Actually, between Bear Creek Road, I realize now, and Bear Creek. One of these waitresses said, as I was saying, O'Fallon Park, she said, that's where this chimney is. And it's interesting because now that I'm looking at it, you are here. Don't you love the bullet holes? Class act. Okay, you were here. Bear Creek, I'm right beside Bear Creek. Hiker only, that's me. So we are looking at potentially the blaze. The blaze then goes down. It's got stairs below it. It's even got a marker that essentially says it is a mysterious thing. It's been used back in the 30s and the 40s, and people would come out here and have little get-togethers and stuff, but it's actually on the placard says that it's mysterious. It's a mysterious, I mean, basically to me it's just a place to have cookouts next to the Bear Creek. That's Bear Creek. Then you realized, you know, there were steps here so that you could come down to the creek from eating your hot dog or whatever. And then you're met by this. Then you're met by a lot of rocks. And then you see the cold stream, which up the way is being fished as we speak by two fishermen, a woman and a man, are fly fishing up there, which is kind of cool. I know this is silly, folks, but I'm just looking at this and I'm thinking, you know, walk through that water and just go over in the wood, and the chest is under that bush, right next to the highway. Oh, that's right, and he has said people were within 200 feet of it. Well, I'm going to do it. I've come too far not to. And if anyone's watched this thing, you can see how serendipity my mind works. There is no logic to it at all. I mean, I'm just kind of following these clues. I'm kind of pulling them out of my butt along with the poem. I have to admit this really adds up again. As far as I'm concerned, it adds up. It's a blaze, I mean, you know, a blaze, whatever you want to call it. It's a chimney, it's a smoke pit. Alright, maybe at one time people would just refer to it as let's go to the blaze, you know, by the creek. Alright, I'm going to have to do this. I don't really want to go in that water again. It looks very cold. Wow, and it looks very fast. It looks very dangerous, quite frankly. Man.